Hi, how are you, Olivia?
Good, how are you?
Great. I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you.
I love magicians.
It's my favorite.
And, kind of speaking of that and your other roles, like in, Paranormal Activity and the Vatican Tapes, and all that, how is it different getting in that mindset versus, I can't even think straight, versus Touch Me?
Oh, um, I mean, Touch Me, is still considered, it's like horror comedy. So there is a lot of horror in the film, but it is much more of like a human grounded experience. I don't know, I approach all my characters not necessarily based on the genre, unless I feel like on Magicians, I did develop like a very specific character for that genre. But, Touch Me is very grounded and real, even though it's set in a ridiculous setting. These characters are having, have had lived very real lives. And so, yeah, I don't think the preparation is necessarily different. I'm not covered in as much like blood as some of the other ones, but I love genre. I love working in horror. Horror is like my favorite genre to work in, horror and sci-fi for sure. Yeah, because you just
Mine
get to
too.
play. It's like a playground.
Yeah, you can be so many, different types of people.
Yeah.
And, speaking of this, your character, Joey, is so desperate for love. And I
Yep.
think a lot of people are. A lot of people can connect with that thought.
Yeah, that's totally. And that was something that when I read it, I was like, oh, I think everyone understands this feeling of wanting to be loved and seen. And she just feels so lost and lonely. And I think that can, very easily you find somebody and it can become very codependent. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. And that codependent relationship that turns toxic is, I don't know, as a woman, I feel like I know that relationship very well in the past. And so it was nice to work through that. And Addison is a really amazing writer and wrote something so unique, but still deals with things like that. Yeah, poor Joey, she just wants to be loved. So does Craig. They all want,
I think
so
we
does
all do,
Brian. Everyone just wants to find love.
even when it involves tentacles. And
Yeah.
it is a very interesting movie and it is very different. And I love the color palette. I love the way color was used.
Yeah, Dustin, our DP, was amazing. I loved working with him, and it was collaborative too. Like Addison had a very specific vision for the film because he took homage to a lot of like 70s horror films. Like he loves like Japanese horror, and so he paid a lot of tribute to those, and so he had a very specific palette in the beginning with Dustin, and then brought us in, and like some of the color, like the botanical scene, I was like, I really wanted to be, blue because they had a different color in mind, and then they're like, okay, let's try it, and then we did, and everyone was like, oh my God, that looks like I like that he was willing to play. He's a very playful director and filmmaker, and it really shows through his work because the movie, there's no rules in this movie at all. So that's such a fun place. That's a really fun space to work in. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think visually it's like candy.
It is. It's very neon, very, you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
very pretty movie.
Yeah.
Even though things get a little slimy and things, but hey, for people who are fans of like Cthulhu and Lovecraft, and it's a great touch and a great mixture the way that the alien was handled. I
Yeah.
like that it was, very much. I'm just gonna put it out there. You get a lot of sex scenes that are very gratuitous, very, you know what I mean, very raw.
Yeah.
But I think this one was handled very delicately, very artistically, and I appreciated that as a woman.
Oh, I'm so glad you say that because that was really important to all of us involved. One of the, you know, first takeaways when I read the script was how are we going to handle that scene? Because on the page it can't show you everything visually. So I was like, how is this going to go? Because I don't really have any interest in doing the version of this film. I mean, the version of this film, any other version of this film, I would not want to make. I think Addison did a beautiful job of making it art and not gratuitous. And we spent a lot of time talking about the sex scene with Brian and mapping out how to make it feel sensual without being salacious in any way, and working with everybody involved. And it was honestly such a fun day of shooting, and it turned out beautiful. And I was in the edit room for this whole film, so I got to have, final say of the cut of that. But it was just like a beautiful collaboration. And when I watch it, I'm like very proud of that scene. And I think yeah, it's maybe not exactly what people think it's going to be when they hear like a tentacle sex movie, but everyone that watches it is like moved by it. I don't know. I
Right.
think it turned out as a standalone piece of the film. Yeah. I'm glad you
It
say
was
that. Yeah.
it was very artistic, and I'm as somebody who handles horror day in and day out. I've seen a lot of scenes that's just like this doesn't add to the movie. This
Yeah.
doesn't carry the plot. Well, I mean, what is this really for? But with your scene, it made sense. Like it
Yeah.
was, it had a point and a part, and I thought that was, I just appreciated that very much.
Yeah. And she was wanting it and enjoyed it. And it just, yeah. Addison was like the whole time. He's like, "Are you comfortable? Do you feel good? Do you want to change anything?" And I appreciate that so much. And I think it really comes through in the film.
It's very tactful in an artistic way.
Yeah.
So, and it ended up, like you said, it really was very much a piece of art. And I love that. And I love that relationship that you have with Jordan's character, that best friend, the tension and especially once he misbehaves,
Yeah.
it's, it's very endearing.
Jordan is amazing. We hadn't met till day one of working together, because he lives in Toronto and I'm out in LA. And so we met on set, which is wild, or we met the day before we started shooting, something like that. And so we'd only met once. And then we had a whole week. The first week of filming was all the stuff with Craig and Joey in his house, like before going to Brian's. And we hit it off immediately. We fell in love immediately. I mean, he's just the sweetest, most giving, kind, funniest person I've ever worked with. And we've become such best friends. And I'm mad at him because he doesn't live in LA. But he's so talented. And I mean, like the relationship in the film, we did not have to work to have. We just immediately hit it off. Like the chemistry between all of us, thank God. That doesn't always happen. And sometimes you have to really work to find it. But it was all there. And I think that that's one of the reasons why the film works so well.
It is. It's great. I'm going to have to ask you a hard question.
Okay.
If you could only use three words to describe this film to somebody, what would they be?
Oh. Oh. Um, Yearning, trauma, and tasty.
Words. Good words. Good words. I always like to throw people a curve with that kind of
Yeah.
question.
There's
Those
a
good
lot of
answers.
words. I could describe it with a lot of words, but yeah.
Right, right. Well, I thank you so very much for your time.
Oh, thank
And,
you so much.
I can't wait to see what you're on next.
Thank you. It was nice chatting.